under APPF, they represent the artists in their diversity. And thank you very much for your presence and joining us. Thank you very much. Babu Xolani.
Look, let me greet everyone equally. I think it's just a deja vu, you know. It's been long me sitting with government representatives, technocrats, you know, and fellows of the so-called glorious movement in the ANC, proudly announcing that. Some years back, we were dispatched around the world by the former President Thabo Mbeki. We were young because we were were part of his advisory team, youth advisory team, and I was based in Europe. And when we came back in this format, it was in Danish, and then we were supposed to report back on our trip. And then it was my opportunity to make a report back. I made it clear to him that, Mr. President, you don't have power. You have good intentions. And so, let me say this thing again. MEC, you don't have power. You have good intentions. Fortunately, you have told us how powerless you are, because one man in Peter Marisbeck, we are willing to take him to court. You also told us that when you look around trying to give opportunities to the natives, you don't find them. And then you are forced to go back and negotiate those that you are saying they are arrogant. Power makes people to be arrogant, not this power that we have, the political power. And so the most important thing that you have to understand is that our government do not have power. The MEC might have good intentions. He can give us this good presentation of what he wants to intend to do. But even us, we know it very well that he's not having power, because the native in this country, they don't have power. And that's why I hate when I hear people talk about transformation. Because when you go to the historical economic books of the Afrikaners and the British, you don't find transformation. When you have power, you implement. You don't negotiate. The sad part about us, as we are sitting here, we're trying to find ways of negotiating to be part. When we claim that we are the government and we live in a democratic country, because democracy is about the will of the people and especially the majority. And so you have to ask yourself, if Vivian Reddy do attend such forums where he negotiate how to remove a post office at Umhlanga and build something of his own. You have to ask yourself, if the Shri property attends such kind of meetings in order to have the largest pie in the Dubai trade port. And you have to ask yourself about all those white people who are building in that corridor, the so-called dry port. Do they come to Jomo and negotiate with him? The answer is no. They simply implement. Soon, there will be a dry port in Escort. The government do not know that. Those guys, they don't negotiate, they implement. Those who don't have power, they negotiate amongst themselves, so that they form association, organizations, and everything so that they can go and plead. I'm hearing government officials, sorry to say Jomo, the MEC, because this is a formal forum. The officials that are there, most of them, they've been there for more than 10 years. The same official in 5 years back, they were talking about how they can empower the natives. They are here today again. They are telling you that there are opportunities to empower you. Let me tell you something. They are not going to do that. You are not going to be empowered by the same officials who've been in that office for the past 10 years talking about transformation, empowerment. They are not going to empower you because they understand that the MEC, with his good intentions, tomorrow might be reshuffled. Tomorrow might be deployed somewhere else because he is hanging. You might think that he is not hanging, he's hanging. Because these departments, all of them are run by mafias. We have seen what happened to Nomsa Dube. And if Jomo touch the sensitive nerve, trust me, he might not survive. And who is going to do that? Who's going to send him to that altar? The government officials. If he can do a lifestyle audit of all these officials, these are the gatekeepers of us natives to prosper in the built industry. The gatekeepers are the government officials. Do their lifestyle audit and ask yourself, who is feeding them? They are feeding by our enemies. They are feeding by the people, Jomo, that you are trying to fight with. And trust me, we are not going to survive. And so we have to understand that here in this province, when you talk about not economic transformation, because we don't need that. We never fought to transform. People fought to take over what belongs to them. That's what you have to do. You have to scratch that concept of transformation. Because your enemy will never transform you. If it transforms you, it will transform into something else that is lesser than him or her. That is the thing. And so the ANC in this province is not having a political will. Quote me, I don't care. I told Sihle, they don't have political will. It's the same thing I told Senzo Mchunu. That the way they trust whites and Indians at our expense is painful. Go around all these municipalities and check. People, I bought a land. There's this thing of demos. And the people who sit in a particular area, I'm from Hillcrest, to say, if you want to build, you have to talk to. There is a man, a white man. You can't do anything without negotiating with him, Same thing, you go to Palito. All this development that is happening, we are spectators in our own province. We see buildings mushrooming all over and we clap hands. And the same government tell us that this province is going somewhere. But who's going somewhere is not us. Are the Indians and whites. There's an African Sun development in that circle next to Aspire, opposite the garage. That thing happened recently, Jomo. We were in government when that thing happened. It's not something that happened pre-apartheid. Who find those people? Vivian Reddy was not stupid by putting Isbaya there before everyone think what was going to happen in KwaZulu-Natal. But today is occupying a prime spot. And so those are the indication, guys, that we can sit here and say we are an architect, you are a planner, we are this, you are that, you are that. If you don't have power and futuristic perspective of economic patterns of this province, let me tell you something. You'll enjoy your Porsche, you'll enjoy that your son is at Michael House, but post that, we are nothing. Meaning that we live for the now. And so I think MEC, if really we want to move forward as the native in this country, first and foremost, we must not rely to these officials. The native must capture Jomo. The Indians, they capture our politicians. There's nothing wrong about capture. You have to capture him. You have to capture him. And after you've captured Jomo, what you have to do, in those corridors where there is that Indian and Muslim families, the Baker family, who are owning a lot of land, and those white in that dry port on your way to Pietermaritzburg, we must have a quota. We must insult them to say, we want 40% of black people to be part of that development in that dry port, because you were talking about practicality. Not these things of jargons and acronyms and opportunities that are elusive. If you want to say something, you have to say, MEC, in next week we need to meet. We need to make it clear that 40% of natives in that dry port must be allocated a land. And who's supposed to fund? We have inverted commas, the State Bank, Itala Bank, must fund them. If you're not going to do that, let me tell you something. Jomo will leave. 5 years to come, someone will come and sweet talk you, and another HOD will come with acronyms and opportunities somewhere there, and then you leave. Let us be practical. Let's come with tangible ideas, not even ideas, conclusive intervention that are radical. To say, eThekwini, as they talk about this, Jomo, talk with the public works, make a link with eThekwini and so forth. We need so many buildings that belong to public works, because we need an audit also from the public works to say, how many buildings do you have that you can give to the black people? We need that audit. If you don't have that audit, let me tell you something, you'll be moving around. There are buildings from the public works that are not using. There are buildings from Transnet, from SOEs. It's his responsibility to give us those lists. And after he gave us those lists, it's his responsibility and us to negotiate with all these universities to say, put your student into Mtunge's building. Here's Mtunge's building. Because currently what is happening in that Point Road is very nonsensical. Where Indians, they can take the former called Four Seasons and change it into a student housing, and being funded by our municipality. Through our parents who stay in Claremont who don't have money, but they pay rate, and municipality fund those guys. You see, and so let us be practical. Let us not sweet talk these ANC guys, because once you do that, let me tell you something is your downfall. Let's stop this thing of theorizing, being intellectual, go through this jargon of technocrats and bureaucrats. Jomo, have an independent panel of people who are supposed to advise you